Gut, okay.
Das ist eine Blitzen.
Auf jeden Fall.
Käsekuchen.
So. Ja, Herzen. So, eigentlich für die Inhalte.
Ja. Ich bin gespannt. Bitte lass das halt eben so. Yes. Ich bin heute. Das ist ein Problem. Ich werde auch kurz einmal zum Hörer, nur um das Ganze sieht, ich muss Hand halten. Ja.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome, everyone. I would like to tell you a story about communities and how they work or not work. And I would also like to tell you a story about what joint efforts can do. Because in the PHP community we have a problem. Most of you think that you are Typo 3 developers, but are you also PHP developers? Or are you using PHP, or are you just working with Laravel, Typo 3 in some way? And as Laravel is the same situation. Nowadays I see many developers that explain them or introduce themselves as a Laravel developer. And the same applies to Symfony developers or whatever other framework we pick. We see the same behavior on the part where people are doing front-end development. They introduce themselves as I'm an Angular developer, I'm a React developer. But they are using the same language, and that language is driven by a group of people. That group of people is doing that mostly in their spare time, and there's a problem on this. Because our daily jobs rely on this particular group of people. And there's no financial backing on this. This is a bit scary, right? Remember, if you ever wrote a unit test, that single testing framework is maintained by one single person. And he's doing that for about 25 years right now. And that's scary, because he will step down at some point. Luckily, there are new people joining the project slowly, but it's still a small group of people in comparison to the number of people that are actually using those projects. And the financial backing of those projects is even more of a problem. And I think we need to change this. But the problem is, if you want to support PHP, where do you go? Anyone? PHP Foundation, yeah, that's a nice opportunity, yeah. But what do you support with the PHP Foundation? What do you support when you fund money to the PHP Foundation? So, you're supporting the core developers, like Derek maintaining HDDebug, or the same person also maintaining the data timeline. One of the most important core developers even stepped down and switched jobs. He's currently doing Go. Not because he wanted to, but just because he didn't had enough energy and enough financial funds to continue his work on PHP. This was the moment where actually some other company stepped up and started the PHP Foundation. There was a specific need to support PHP because it was important for all of us to get a stable money flow into that project. Right now, it's, well, I think it's doing okay. But on the community side, Typo 3 as the Typo 3 Association. I'm not pretty sure how that actually works because I'm not a Typo 3 person, but at least there is money to actually fund some community projects. But Typo 3 is also using other open source projects. And those are not funded. Or, well, maybe they get enough to buy a cup of coffee a month. In my story, I'm working on PHP Documenter, and we'll talk about that later today. I'm doing that on my own. And one of the libraries I'm using, and you can open your laptop after this talk, and it's there. It's called Type Resolver. You will find it in the vendor directory of your project. and it has about 300,000 million downloads, last time I checked. This grows every day with about 200,000. Or sorry, that's a month. But it's still a lot of people using that project. And I'm not complaining about the amount of money I get from that. And you might know, that's $300 a year. This is a problem. There are people driving the community with user groups. Each user group has its own website. Where do they get the funding? To pay their website, to actually buy their domain name. All those things are bought by individuals. And that's where the problem is. I think this should change, and there is an opportunity to change this. Currently, I'm talking to different people about starting a PHP community foundation. We have to find a better name for this, because it's confusing. It's related to the PHP Foundation. It will not be related to the PHP Foundation, but the idea is to create a foundation that's able to support community projects, but also user groups, conferences like this one, or community conferences that are organized by people in their spare time. And I think that's important to create a lifeline for PHP as a language being used by PHP developers. And I would like to have your feedback on this, how you think that we should change this. Mm-hmm.
It's the same concept. Sounds like you have some ideas, or you have a project to develop on them, like you need a continuous delivery tool, like Flux or AboCD. You can bring the project to the CNCF. They have a level agreement for hey, you need to have the incubating state that you can found them. That's a cool way, but the most projects will lose in the gap. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
That you need to for that need you solution.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
I'd like Matthias to talk about something, because Matthias always says free open source doesn't necessarily mean cost-free.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one problem. It's still a market, and if you take something away, most of the time someone steps up to cover the gap.
Mm-hmm.
And I think open source should be available to everyone, but it doesn't necessarily have to be free. So if you're unfunded, even if that's just a fraction of a few cents, so you get it. So it's basically, if an agency or a company does a project, in the end, if they only contribute a few euros or dollars to each of the used solutions, funding is basically covered. So I think, yes, community-driven is necessary and it's important, and I even think it's not a problem, it's more like it's an opportunity and it's resilience for a project if an individual started.
Yeah.
But we have to be aware, if it doesn't have a price, it doesn't intrinsically have a value, and if you take it away, it gets value.
Yeah.
So I'd always have like a startup phase for whatever component you use, and after a certain while, there should be some monetization.
There's an interesting project I know, which is called thanks.dev. There's a website that you can open up. You can drag in your project or the composer file, and you can actually see what dependencies are in your project. And you are able to spend the amount of money on your account, and they will distribute it on a level like you tell them to do that to different projects. So, for example, you pay €100 a year they will just distribute it to the different dependencies of your project. If every company would do this, just 100 euros a year, most of the problems for open source projects would be solved. But the problem is, we're not visible. And I think that's the thing we should change.
So you mean a community foundation idea is not for the financial stability, it's even more for to get some visibility in projects.
Yeah. Yeah.
From guys who do it in their free time.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to this, and the setup of a PHP community organization is just the solution to the problem in some way. But there are steps that we need to take in order to get there. And on the one side, you know, we are to a certain extent aware of our dependencies to a certain level. You know, we know that Type 3 uses Symfony. Okay, we're aware of that. But in another way, we have the situation where, you know, every morning we open the door to our house and there's food presented to us and we can eat it.
Yeah.
And we know that happens because there's, you know, Symfony, for example, doing stuff. But Symfony also depends on things like out there. And we don't have the full overview of who is supporting what is depending on what, apart from, you know, just dumping the composer dependencies. And that is a problem we have, that we don't actually have the overview, we don't have the visualization of where we are, and there is no organization that is currently taking care of making that visible.
Like when we can get a dependency tree of a package, we
Yeah.
should be able to get a
Oh.
financial tree.
Yeah, and that's exactly, you know, it seems like things happen with magic and magic doesn't exist. So, you know, what is this magic actually?
It does exist. So you're trying to structure a thing that shouldn't be structured. If you take something away, it gets value. So if you're trying to structure it and use all the dependencies and build a tree that reflects everything that happens in the ecosystem, just don't do it, because usually it's an offering and it's acceptance of an offering. So if your little library is like, I want to get it out, but it has to cost money because I need to earn money in the end, he's setting the price. If there's no buyer and no one adopting it, maybe at a certain point in time he will give up.
Yeah.
If not, and there are enough buyers, you do not have to do that structured organization and stuff. It just happens because it's a market. And of course, there are at a certain point in time winners and losers in each market, but it's the easiest way to do that because you do not need the commitment, because it's simply, you're committing by getting the solution and paying the price.
And that is also the other side to this, is also we talked about that in our call, the balkanization of the PHP community, where we think of ourselves as isolated islands, but we're actually not. Yes, there might be a sea in between, but you can actually walk across. You didn't know that, but you can.
Yeah.
That means that we very often, when we think about the financial stability, we think about the financial stability of our project, and there is no, you know, reverse of that. There's no organization that helps developers get away from the thought of my project and into the, well, how is my project connected and how can my project be part of a marketplace is maybe not the right word, but how ecosystem where you your project as being part of other projects. And today with the balkanization we had, there is no way of really supporting a community organization because there is no awareness of the joint community.
I'm wondering, we are right now already within a bubble like web development and PHP. So like the idea of Ireland, so there's also something like the Linux world and Linux community, Linux Foundation, stuff like that. So I'm wondering whether we have to think and reinvent the wheel, or whether there are other communities out there that have the same issues and maybe have solved them in a certain way, so that we might contact or reach out to them and find whether their solutions might work for us, or whether we can adapt those solutions. So because in Linux you have the same issues, so you build a GUI program or command line program and you rely on certain libraries and system behavior, so you have all exactly the same issues and
exactly, yeah. libcurl we are using on a daily basis to do our API request to another website. Is maintained by one single person. There's no difference. The time zone database that we're using on a daily basis, everyone all over the world, maintained by one single person. And there have been problems with that, because we all remember the story of the SSL bug that popped up a few years ago, and then people started to realize, well, this is a really unstable system where we're building on. This is a problem. We should solve this. And I would like to start a discussion on this. I'm not trying to actually solve this problem, but I want to create awareness. And if you want to collaborate on this, please start talking about this subject with other people. And in the end, we will find a group of people that actually feel the need for a certain organization. I will actually start that organization. I won't be that person, but at least with starting talking to you guys here right now about this specific, about this topic, I hope that you will start talking about this topic as well.
A few weeks ago I was in Brussels at a conference, and a topic came up that everyone definitely agreed upon, would be a great idea. Why not have a 10 billion euro fund for open source in the EU? So, because the EU is rather well organized, take care of open source in the world. That's a great idea. Well, what do you need on the other side of those 10 billion euros? Well, you need the maintainer of these small but important projects to have a vehicle that can act for them. I mean, applying for money from the EU is not something you do on your own, right? It needs greater support, and if people don't have support for those things, then the people who are going to get money are the ones who actually already have the money, right?
It's something I'm saying in our company often. We just can't throw money at things we're using. We have to give something back. Even if it's some 10 lines of code, but we have to give something back.
That's when we're talking about community, yes. That's the only way to actually collaborate and start using things around you. And
when you give code back, it's a different approach than talking about money.
Well,
so I hear you talk about money all the time, and actually I wonder, what is your goal? What do you really want to approach here? Do you want to set up like a community-driven funding situation so you can step down from your daily work and concentrate on what is most fun to you? And so that was one of the questions that popped in my head. And maybe just opening up a more not so popular discussion of that side, because that could be a motivation for somebody and say like, my daily job sucks, I rather would love to continue working on my library, because I think my library is the best library for everybody out there. But who says that isn't the case? Who makes that decision? You know, so there is a lot of questions coming down the line. If you do it the other way around, and because you know everybody I think has enough experience saying like if you start doing something just because driven out of money, it will never be a success. It will never just not be a success.
No.
That doesn't work. It's a universal law. But if you start it because you do it with passion, and then people pick it up, that is a different scenario and a different situation. That might bring you in a situation where I said like, this requires now me doing so much work that I have to find a solution. How can I handle it with my daily life, with my job, and so on? So, and that's what I wonder is because I'm not seeing the exact point of what you're going at.
Yeah. Okay. Let me be clear. It's not about the money, of course. If it was about the money, I wouldn't maintain a library like this. I would maintain a library that would be more visual. This particular library extracts the type definition you define in your doc block and transforms it into an object that other applications can use.
And then in times where doc blocks are disappearing.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not about money. That's a different story, and I think they are not completely disappearing, but for me it's not about the money, because actually I'm getting paid to maintain this library. I'm allowed to spend 10% of my contract time with my employee to actually work on my open source projects. So that's not a problem for me. The problem is that people are not aware of the ecosystem they are part of. And that's the thing I would like to solve. I'm not trying to get more money out of my open source work, because that's not why I do my open source work. People who volunteer for their own football association at their local village are not doing that because they are doing that for the money. They do that because it's their passion. And I can definitely say it's more than a passion for me to actually work on open source. But also the community is part of the passion, because I met friends there. I think about a month ago I wrote an article on LinkedIn explaining where I started my career and how I ended up in the place where I'm currently working. And that's only because of the community. I know there are stories in the PHP community where people actually got money because they didn't have insurance and they needed to go to the hospital, and people stood up and started helping each other. I think that's community. It's not about money, it's about people. And I think the whole reason why I think it's important to see how large and this community actually is because by just using the community as companies, but also as individual developers, we're mostly abusing people in a certain way. It's the if you like to go to meetups, those meetups are organized by people in their spare time, and they do that for free. You can just sign up on a website and you can go. You will get even drinks and pizza. That's all paid. That's not a problem. But the reason why people are doing this is because they love to share their knowledge. And it's not that those people should be funded in some way, but there should be a mechanism that they can say, okay, I do not have the energy to continue on this. I will step down for a moment. Hold on, I will be back soon, but I need some time for myself. It's about people. It's about mental health. Because if you see how many people in the PHP community working on open source projects actually get a burnout at some point, that's terrifying.
structure, funding, and problems. We're talking about mental health.
Yeah.
And mental health is in this generation mostly homemade and nurtured by whatever life we live. So that is, sorry, if people tend to go that way, they do not put up stop signs and they need therapy and help. So they do not need a structure that distributes money or help or backup. You have to be aware of what you're capable of, and if you're not, it's mostly due to how you were raised, where you were born, how you live, and all of these things, because we're in Middle Europe, we're at the 1% wealthiest beings in the world. So we have the time to do that, and you outdrain yourself just because you can. So we just didn't learn how to say no and stop.
Yeah, but it's also hard to say no when you know that people are going to rely on you.
No, it's actually pretty easy, because if you not see that large community, but a small village, yes, of course, people depend on each other, but if you say no and you're well balanced and everything is fine, people will be like, oh, you can be the boss. Do you want to step down for a while? Should I take over? That happens at each, festival. So if you're sitting there, or if you're handing out beer for 2 hours, someone probably will come, will be like, you look exhausted. Should I do that for a few minutes or for the next hour, so you can have a beer and sit in the shadows? It works that way.
Because you're visible.
Yeah.
And because there's a community.
And you will also be visible, because if there's no beer, people would notice. So,
but you see, you just changed the topic. You changed the topic from where you started from to now into mental health situation and so on. That's why I started questioning what is this about.
Thanks.
So I'm kind of missing a clear point here, actually, to be honest.
But I think that is actually the question. What is it about? Because why do we need a PHP community organization or whatever? Well, there are obviously needs for thinking about PHP, the PHP community at large, but drawing up the borders of what is actually the concern of such an organization is really important in order to make it a reality. So maybe mental health is an issue for that organization. Maybe not, but we need to discuss it in order to get to a point where we can say that, well, is it actually possible to create an organization? And if it's possible, what will the goals of that organization be? It's difficult because of this balkanization, and we're not used to thinking PHP as one community. But yeah, we need to discover what it actually means.
I would agree to that, but
you just won't.
But I mean, it's what you say. Basically, you have to discuss what is the point. But that's what I mean. Is like if you want to fund an organization, I think it should have a clear direction in what direction that particular organization is heading.
Yep.
Whether be it funding, whether be it mental health, whether be it community events, whatever. But I don't think you can fund like that one company to rule them all.
I think it's about awareness. So if we move to the mental health topic and everything else, awareness is a thing. So at the Type 3 conference last year, we had a keynote speaker who's very much about awareness, and Matthias, you've been there. Yeah. So he asked a pretty profound question, like, what is the job that is mine to do, which is pretty easy. So he's a lot in mental health and live through your struggles. But that's actually what each individual and the community should ask themselves. I don't think you need a structure or organization, because it's, if you're exhausted, you're exhausted. And if you're exhausted because you wanted to get rich, fine. Then you deserve it.
Yeah.
If you're exhausted because you didn't want to let people down, and these people didn't give you the feeling, or you didn't get the feeling that they would compensate for your lower energy times, you might doing it for the wrong people. So I think it has to be well balanced, but it's not a community or a structure or organizational thing, it happens in yourself. So you have to ask yourself, what is the job that is mine to do? And many jobs that we do are not paid or compensated in any way. It's, if you want to do it, and even if it's in your local sports club. I had years where I coached younglings in a whole season in basketball. Yes, you get the expenses covered, like maybe the fuel is paid.
Yeah.
But that's it. So you have to get something out of it, and that might be valuable for you for 1 year, and maybe the next year it isn't. So but that's an individual thing. So I wouldn't frame it or phrase it as a problem. It's just think the other way around. Even if you stop with your library next year, I'm sure there will be someone stepping up, helping out. So that will, and you should look at it the way. Look how many years I could sustain that, and that will be recognized when you let it go for a while. So it's the way you look at it, I think. And you've been looking at it from a problem perspective. So we started, there is a problem, we need an organization, it's not a task. We're already doing fine. And if you decide, I'm not doing this for the next year, you already have a lot of people in the room.
Yes and no. Look at the J4Log security issue that came up. I mean, J4Log was also, or is also a one-man project, but it's used by the entire Java community. And without saying that we have to have an organization or not, that's not really the question of that. But there is another side to me taking responsibility. It's also everybody seeing that, well, this library is awfully important to the community. And when there is a really serious security bug, that's not the time for that one developer to discover that, oops, this project is a little bit too big for me. There is a need for the outside as well to take a responsibility.
Surprised, but it is the time for this developer to say, I can't handle this on my own.
From the perspective of the developer maybe, but from the ecosystem, and that's also part of the community aspect which we were talking about. It's a bad situation, like also a situation if someone's sitting by us, then it's too late to provide insights to the project to someone else, so that's not sustainable for the whole community. It might be okay for the developer to say, okay, yeah, I'm not into security, or now it's time to give up and someone else has to in. But yeah, that's a scenario where he can still onboard someone, but if he's hit by a pass or burn out or something else, it's not even possible to provide someone else those insights. And that's why I think it's good regarding those awareness and visibility, so the community from the outside can notice that and offer help and can ask whether he's still feeling comfortable, like serving beer, so are you exhausted, so all these kind of things. And it's still his decision because he's the maintainer to decide whatever he's doing to his library project. But it's also okay for the community to say, yeah, but we no longer comply to that. We will see it, would like to see it to be more professional, for example. It's not okay if it's a one-man show. And that's also totally valid for the community to say, do whatever you want, but we as a community now take this project, fork it off, and do something else with that. Which should also be okay for the developer, because that's up to everyone else. So I think it's not yes or no, but that's what we are trying to discuss and discover. There are so many things to that, and every human is different, so one might have the opinion, yeah, it's your fault if you're exhausted. Others may say, oh God, I really like you, it's so bad to see you being exhausted, and how could we prevent that? And that would be nice to not even let someone be exhausted, but try them up front. So
and I think one of the other issues, at least I'm personally facing, is that even when I want to step down, people will be able to reach me at some point. I will not disappear. I will get emails, I will get tweets, I will get, well, not phone calls because they don't have my phone number, but even if they could, they would.
But if you want to step down, then you will step down. And then it doesn't matter if you get emails or not, because you have a reason to step down.
Well,
That is,
if
that
that,
is,
let me
that's not
rephrase
consequence.
this. I know one of my friends actually got death threats because he didn't fix a particular bug, and somebody was so upset about the fact his project broke and it cost him money because he broke something in his project. This is really insane, and this is not. I think this will not be solved by a community, but
Getting to the police and
well,
That is a totally different scenario.
yeah, but I think
But what has that to do with stepping down and being still reachable? So that is
no, it's about it's about
so you cannot compare.
it's about that you cannot just disappear.
Yes, you can.
People will find you,
Well, that's so you can. It's your decision to not respect.
and I think the community will be able to actually help those people in some way.
I've heard that from people, developers of Tapestry community, and other are posting like GitHub issues where someone is complaining on the Fediverse, and that's where I actually think the community might be able to help. While, as you've mentioned, it's not only about the money, or for one it's more, for one it's less, but it's always about passion, because that's why I don't open source or not something else. So you need to have some motivation. Why is it your passion? You're doing it for people, sharing knowledge, stuff like that. So it is very important to be felt valuable to others, so that others appreciate it, that they say thanks, or even saying thanks to someone might be even better than sponsoring €5 or something like that, involving all kind of headaches like, oh, do I now have to pay taxes? No, please don't spend money on me. But saying thanks, that was inspiring or that was helpful, is often even more important for those people. And if you have someone complaining, oh, you need to put in this feature, yeah, it's free, it's open source, so because they don't get the mindset and they are just terrible people, those people are out there, and then it's the community could step in and can also help this single maintainer within the issue to argue against that and say, that's not how it's supposed to work, or we have different opinion, or that's not how it will work here, so it's not only the single person, the single maintainer, but the community that can step in. Like in a concert, like in a circle pit or at a pop concert, if someone falls down, that's a community that builds a safety area around him and helps him up, so it's not a single person or the security guard or someone else, it's always a community. And
I think the possible solution or possible goal for a community foundation could be to get visible if you need help, if you want to step down from a project because you can't make it anymore. To show to the developers world, hey, I can't take it anymore and this library is well used. Does someone have a specific experience to take over or to help me for a long time, for a short time, whatever? And just to connect people who can or be able to do the same things on a specific project. Not just that you have a community in your project, but does the community have the ability to replace you, so to say?
Yeah, well,
maybe there is another person to replace or to help you out as a maintainer.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not just financially, but also in terms of organization. And I think that's the important part.
So basically, what you want to do is like create a mentoring program for project maintainers.
Maybe it should. Yeah. I don't know.
But for this specific problems, exists in the solution, like meetups. If you want to step back from your project, you can set up a meetup, like virtual or real, to explain others how your workflow is, to give them their maintenance privilege, and that is all. Or you have the option to say, hey, developer, make a pull request for that specific problem, and show on another guy shows, and fine. That's not a community problem, that's a personal organization problem.
Okay, yeah. I get what you're saying there, yeah. Thanks.
I mean, on a certain level, everything you do is your own responsibility, right? But like in society at large, it is also society's responsibility that individuals get help when they need it, because it's much better that they get help before they go out on the street and start shooting people than that they get help afterwards.
We're in Europe.
Yes, but in an ideal society, that is what a quality community is about.
You mean the help up front or the shooting? Okay.
Yeah.
That's also
But I think also on a business level, if you want to have a sound PHP-based business, you need to take care about your dependencies before the issues appear. And that means, you know, like with the, it was actually called Node4j, wasn't it? And not J4Node. Anyway,
Yeah.
that, you know, if I was a big Java business, I would have loved it if I was aware of that weakness before it happened. And quality auditing your whole, you know, dependency tree is, well, I guess some big businesses might do it, but I don't think, you know, anybody here, when did you last do a quality audit of your dependency tree for your clients?
The whole tree.
Well, and the interesting
The
thing
tree
is
of
where does
life,
it stop,
yeah.
of course.
And that is,
Would that even be possible, because we have the database, we have the operating system, libraries like Perl and Unicode consortiums. All of that is part of our dependency tree. So
Yeah, even your CPU and your memory are on this. Yeah.
so even the manufacturers.
Can we take a minute to acknowledge that we've come a long way and we've never been so stable before? And that people are afraid and insecure because there might come a time, and for economically it is right now, where the tree is shaking. So you will feel and experience some insecurity over the next few years, and people that are used to it, for example businesses, most of the middle management and managers out there just know one way it is up. They do not even remember the last crisis in 2009 because they came from university and went into Schlappenland auf Deutsch. I don't know. It just went up for 14 years. So even during a pandemic, we just threw money on problems, and they will experience that, and it will be good. It's just the way it works. So if you have that high level of earnings, wealth, everything, yes, it has to go down, and it will feel weird because why is it going down? We do not know how that feels because the roller coaster should go up. It will happen, and it's okay. Businesses have to learn. So if they never experience Log4j, we can mess it up. But yes, if they never experience something like that, they're not aware. So it's perfectly fine if something breaks, because it will break all of the time. And we have such a low amount of things breaking right now. We are doing very good, and I think it's just the awareness that we will get some insecurity over the next few years.
Well,
And we're in a church. There is a solution for that. Help yourself, and God will help you. And God, to get that away, religion is just a way of explaining. If you do it, people will step up and help. So that's what these things were built for. And that's why I like why religion is out of that building, and it's just a building. And it will work out. Trust. Build. Yeah.
That sounds very much like the focus on business, but if you go back to the community and focusing on humans, we have like cars driving by their own, like Teslas and stuff like that. We had it in Germany that there was a law that people shouldn't stay too long in prison and should be free earlier. That wasn't possible because of software. The prisons weren't able to adjust the software to free those people. So it's not only about business and company and money, but it's actually about human beings in the end. In hospitals that get hacked and stuff like that, those are human livings. So software is not only about business, it's also about human lives, at least in some areas like airplanes, where they had an issue and didn't calculate the height over the earth and stuff like that. So, and adding another layer on another layer on another layer, which is happening at least in web development with another framework on top of the language, and that's building on another library and stuff like that. Things becoming more complex than they have been in the past. So at least that's my personal feeling, that things are becoming more complex, and even besides that also more important for more people and their life and whether they will survive. So I'm not sure whether I really like the idea to, let these accidents happen, because we don't know what these accidents might be.
I'm not saying let this happen, but fall of Babylon, it happens all of the time. It's a cycle.
Yeah,
if it's business, community, society, we have to learn. If you cannot learn from the past, you have to experience history again.
Yes, but why shouldn't we learn from the past and try to prevent it as good as we can?
I'm not saying we should learn from the past, but most of the people just don't do it. So you have to experience it. That's just mentioning. So we're sitting in a room, you guys like to solve problems. That's your day-to-day life and you love it. But halfway on a global scale, if not enough people are crashing in planes, that issue won't be solved because no one's interested. It's sad to say, but that's how it works. So anything that happens in the world has to get above the certain line of awareness, so then people finally see, oh, my kids can't travel safe to school, we should do something about it. And maybe there will be wrong decisions, because you will have guns at school and everything, but it happens. So I'm doing good. I'm in a room of people that want to solve things, and if these people maybe increase over time, it's good.
But this is also an issue under development. I mean, 5 years ago, nobody talked about S-bombs. I don't know who of you know what an S-bomb is. We didn't hear about it because it's a software bill of materials that is going to be legally required for a lot of software going forward. And one of the reasons why that is required is also because the whole liability legislation is being changed in the EU right now, but it's also being talked about in the US, where the person who made the little piece of software that was not intended for whatever use, but that was used for it in the end, through 10 layers of dependencies. Everyone in that layer chain is suddenly liable for whatever happens when Tesla takes off and drives into somebody and kills them. Even if your authentication software wasn't intended for use in a car. I mean, you're still liable, and that will put a different focus on the whole image of include whatever software you want that we've had lately. So I think there will be an increased focus on, has your software got the audits? Do you know what code you're actually including?
So that's legal stuff and lawyers doing it until people stop contributing code. Let the lawyers do it. Then they will step down with the paragraphs, that they will get less and less. we might not experience the end of that cycle because our life is limited, but yeah, people have to experience it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, again, I think I'm not here to actually solve this problem. I don't even know what the actual complete problem is. But the fact, sorry?
You are worried.
Well, maybe I'm worried. But I think it's also, well, the thing that scares me a bit is that people are not really aware of the fact that they are part of a larger system. And I think that's not a PHP-related thing, that's a global thing. You see that people are more thinking about their individual way of behaving, their own well-doing. Some people don't even care about their own family. They just ignore them. But it doesn't fit with me as a person, but I think that doesn't fit with us as a well, it doesn't fit with the way developers behave, because software development is not a thing that we do as individuals. It's always a team process. And we cannot solve those problems alone. So I think that's why there should be a larger organization standing up to actually move that in a certain way that it can behave in a way we people can actually control it. And it will get out of control with AI at some point. But that's a different topic.
Yeah, I think it's for you a possible solution to make more meetups for that topics, multiple topics, mental health, community, Nachwuchsförderung. Yes.
Talent recruiting or
talent recruiting, yes.
Yeah.
In Germany, we haven't so much offers for that. In my region, I have no offer. That's shit. I have no better words for that. That's so fucking shit that no offer exists. But I think it will be helps if we create more visibility over meetups like mental health, like how the community works, how can you contribute to a project and others, to fix these problems. It will not solve, but it helps. And that is a global problem for every communities. Not only PHP.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the reason why I think PHP in this case is different from what other languages have. For example, Java is because Java was developed by a company.
Right. But in other languages you have, in German we say Haifischbecken. It means you have so many concurrents, so many people say blame others for many contributions, for many ideas they bring in the community, and that's what I more like the community, PHP community, because that is not a big problem like JavaScript. Yeah, the community of JavaScript. I think it will be helps if we can make more meetups or others, What we community days to make these topics visible and try to speak over them.
Yeah. Okay.
But not only for Netherlands and German, maybe the whole Europe or more. But that's a process. We cannot start and say, hey, we fix it. I think that's a process over many years.
Yeah.
Like decades or more. Okay.
Well, I think we have to wrap up.
No, that's what you like.
Okay.
It's our day together today. We had 15 minutes extra.
Okay.
You took half an hour extra, I think.
Okay.
No, 15 minutes. So the plan was about to start right now in the next session because they are already early. But that's how you like. Do you want 5 minutes break or something like that when we start?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So thank you all for your input. Yeah.
Hi.
This is how you together.
Für mich ist jeden Tag
Das ist auch immer sehr.
Das betrifft mich jetzt nicht so. Auch wenn die das
Ja.
Aber da ist immer.
Also ein Upgrade.
Matthias wants to talk about money.
Yeah, but I gave Edward a couple of minutes to find the remaining 100 people.
Yes, a couple of people.
Like the song from Money.
Yeah.
Okay, funny.
Great, everyone. Welcome to this amazing session about earning money with Typo 3. Who of you are earning money with Typo 3 today? And all of the others are not earning? It's sort of a deficit. Yeah. No. For you who attended yesterday, there was an interesting talk that showed how many Typo 3 installations are not being upgraded. And I think that the reason for upgrades are, of course, many, but I think one of the main reasons is money and how agencies interact with their clients about money for upgrades. And to draw a very black and white picture, I think that it's, you know, we're coming out of a time where everyone's been used to that websites is a sort of one-time investment. Hello, welcome. You have to stand up here now to get them. No, but right. People talk about selling websites, right? You go to a client and you say, hi client, look at this wonderful CMS and look at our wonderful designers and integrators and everything. We'll make you a new website, right? That's what we very often talk about when we sell Typo 3 websites. And I think that's the way every web agency has been working. I mean, it's not Typo 3 dependent. Choose your CMS, and everyone goes around and they sell a new website. And I think that's actually teaching clients something wrong. And we're teaching clients that all you need to do is to save up money for this big relaunch, and the world will be better. Everything will be all right. With your new website, everything will be right. That is wrong. Because my theory is that when you launch a website, you know nothing, and there's lots of things that are wrong. And then you should, ideally, spend the next 3 to 5 years, or even longer, improving on that website so that the return on investment on that website actually increases over time. You look at statistics, you see who's using the site, how are they using the site, what functions are working well, where can you improve, and the launch of the website is just the first step on that journey. And that means for the client, they of course have to continue investing in their website, right? That means that that initial relaunch of the site is actually just the first payment on a regular line of payments that don't only go until the next relaunch, because there is no relaunch. There is a continuous line of continuous updates and improvements on that website. Sometimes, well, you might upgrade the Typo 3 installation to the next version, version 13 or whatever. You might not change the design. Next year you might actually change the design. You know, it doesn't have to be a real cut. And clients are not used to that. They're not used to that way of thinking about their website as a continuous investment in increasing the return on investment on their site. And that's something I wanted to discuss today with you guys. What is actually the best way of making money with Typo 3? Is it to constantly relaunch sites, or is there a different way? And if there is a different way, what is the best way of making money for yourself and the client in that way? I already have a hand up. Fantastic. Lovely.
My solution is the best way to make money with Typo 3 to stand up and make a lesson of Typo 3, like for developers, like for integrators, like for editors, like for the customer itself. And on the other hand, I'm working on many teams for the customers and maintain their Typo 3 to rebuild from old legacy structure to the newer structure, to have a better way to make a smooth upgrade to the next version. It doesn't work in every version, but it helps to reduce the problems. And that's, for me, the best way to make money. Midwald has also a good way to make money with Type 3, like hosting, I know. But for the agencies, in the most cases, you have an upgrade or a relaunch for your sites and make that, and in 1 year later or interval later, you make another and another and another, and that's not, I think, the best solution to make constantly money. That's my view of this topic. That's a bad solution.
Other viewpoints?
We should have a whiteboard where we just separate what kind of revenue you have. Like Midwald is providing resources, so they just secure that the internet connection is stable, servers are running. That's a totally different business. Then it depends if you are in a push or in a pull mode. So is your client pushing for something? I think each of you has clients that just pay their bill whenever you invoice them, because they are on the pushy side of things. Like, we want to change that, so that's more like Illusion, what you're talking about. And some clients just need to budget things. For example, the public sector does that all of the time. They just have to commit to so many processes. They have to have a budget which is allocated to 4 years, a single one-time event. And maybe these clients are on the pull side, so you need to push them. So it depends. What is the best way? Depends.
Let me do the scary scenario here that I've seen with a few clients. That is that they save up money, they have a great website on day one, and they breathe out and they do nothing with it for year after year after year, and their revenue goes down. And this site that was really cool and new, and they told you it was the best site they'd ever had in year 0. In year 5, it's so expired that they think that you're actually a bad agency. They tell you that, yeah, exactly. And then they go off to another agency to make exactly the same mistake, right? We don't want that, right? So, is that the agency's responsibility, or is it the client's responsibility to see that?
In development, so money is not my topic.
You discuss money,
yeah. But it's good if money is a topic for you, what a contract.
But I think what you already told me yesterday, and is that many people who are not into Type 3 or into IT in general do not understand that you have to maintain your website on a regular basis, and then if you act like you said, you're just deploying the website and then it goes down, and suddenly after 2 years you're coming around the corner telling, well, there's a major update, we have to do this, and it's just thousands of euros, then their website does not even change. So you're taking money from them, but they don't see a difference in the front end or in the user statistics, if they even look at that, or whatever. So I think it would be a good start to be honest with your customers and say, well, we're making this relaunch now, but after that we have to think about a continuous investment in the website or in installing at least the security or major updates, and maybe they're just investing monthly, so the prices are a little bit lower and not so big and not so scary. Because what I see is that people get their website, they are happy, then nothing happens, and suddenly they get an update, and then they're really angry why they should now install this update because they already paid thousands of euros 2 or 3 years ago for their website. So they were not aware of the following costs. And of course, always talking to them and asking them is like a much head over the actual installation of the update.
Yeah, you're right. So we are doing it. We always tell the client, okay, you have to upgrade this, and try to set some continuous upgrades. So we say, okay, we will upgrade the site every 8 months, and don't get a one-time payment, but on a regular basis. But I'm totally with you too that this upgrade should only be a small part of the service you offer. It's not just about upgrading the site, it's to make it better, improve it, and it should stay at a high level, and that's a lot of work. And so for our side, I think we're doing more money with support and service and improvements than with the initial relaunch in nearly all of our clients.
Yeah. Maybe the problem is that agencies used to sell the website as a product, like you buy your bread. You're consuming that.
But my bread is moldy. I've had it for 4 weeks. I paid lots for it.
Yeah, definitely. But it's more like a car, because you have to put fuel in that car constantly, of course, because you have to rewrite the content of your website, or at least add new content to your website. Otherwise, you will lose traffic. But at some point, your car has to go to the garage as well for maintenance, and nobody will complain about that. Because we all know, we all know that we have to bring our car to the garage at some point.
And we want to complain.
Sure.
But I think that's actually the perfect example.
Complaining about money, but yeah, okay, yeah.
Because way too many people buy expensive cars without thinking about maintenance costs. And then
That's your mistake,
So,
Daniel.
economically, there is something for that in business, which is called total cost of ownership. And we're never thinking about it because, again, most of the agencies that started were run by businessmen, because we started it because you were coding, you started being a designer. It was so easy to build these things. I'm pretty sure at Midwell you know what your data center costs and how, in which intervals you have to change your servers and everything. So you know about the total cost of ownership. That's why you could calculate the price. Most agencies do not know that. That's why they partly overprice or undersell or just do not consult at the right pace or the right time.
And what is the total return on investment on the website as well? Is that something that is visualized and shown as well?
I think we need another side of view because I think a website is not. It's a front view of a store, of a local store. You need to improve that because you want to get customers to go in your store. And if you have no maintain your content, you will never change your front window. Get no leads, and that's a problem. That's the awareness from agencies to say their customers, hey, lovely customer, write content constantly. Show up that you install your latest upgrades, or let us to do that, like content creation or like updates installing and others. That is a good way to make money with Type 3. But if you doesn't do that, you have no invest.
But there's another side to that too. And I mean, many customers do put content on their website. They update their content. But on the other side, what is the value they get back from it? And very often, you know, if you look at the Google Analytics or whatever you use for a website, you know, how many people set up goals and how many people actually set a value to each of those goals? Because that's the other side of creating the content, that is the investment, but you have the return on investment on the other side, that is what's validating to the client that this site is actually valuable to me, or it's getting even more valuable maybe. Daniel.
Car analogy here.
Yeah.
So they do not audit it properly. They have, at large, have no idea on how to do that. And it all depends on if you have a client who wants to go somewhere. Does he want to achieve it? You can't create that intrinsic motivation in other businesses or people. So I think we're lucky at certain, so we kind of think about clients because if they do not want to go anywhere, that's one thing. Maybe you will find a few clients that do not want to go anywhere, but your offering is so attractive that they just try. It's like, I'll give that e-bike thingy a go, and maybe you've been a car guy and you figure out, well, for 7 months, if the weather's okay, riding a bike is totally fine for me. Maybe that's just, there's no reason for it, but it was the more attractive offering because it is cheaper. There are many, many reasons to view at these things. I don't think we can say how we should do it. It's just we should create offerings for each and every approach. So if you want to save money, maybe type 3 could be the solution. If you want to build a very complex project as well. So we have to create offerings for each of those use cases, even as an agency. So if you're good with clients throwing a huge pile of money at you, and that only happens once every second year, you have to dedicate your business to that. If that's not what you intend to do, you have to change parts of your department or create another department. Like I know Kai has online marketing, so you're not only building websites, you're running parts of the ecosystem as well for your clients. That's that's a different approach. Auf Deutsch wäre es jetzt noch besser.
So, with the business model around the agency today, how should I say that? When does it get fun to do a website for a client? I find that it's most fun working with a client that actually wants to go somewhere. So that's my approach to this talk as well. I would love clients to want to do more. It's sort of the travel agency rather than the car. You don't have to go to France, the south of France, or to a beautiful island somewhere. But somehow, travel agencies sort of tell people that they should, and they feel good about it when they come home as well, because they've experienced something on the way. And when I see Type 3 sites not being upgraded, I think that one of the reasons for people not upgrading is that they haven't seen the need, right? We can say that, well, there's lots of needs. Just imagine, if your house burns down. We talked about that yesterday. The fire department. Why should you pay taxes? Pay for the fire department. Your house never burns down, But we really have to talk about what happens when people get stuck in, or clients get stuck in the situation where they don't see the need to invest in upgrades as often as we want, because we know about, we've seen fires. How can we make the clients see that need as well? How can we make clients get the return on investment of going on a holiday with their website? That was a very strange analogy.
We could set up a few fires.
The big red button in Type 3. Your site is down. Yeah. Fire exercise. Did you have something you want to say?
Yes, but was more sentence.
Hmm?
Not the, so, I lost my words. I lost my words, sorry.
I have a few ideas.
Yeah.
Treasure. So, for example, old Type 3 versions, outdated PHP versions, and so on and so forth. Midwell could, sorry I'm using you guys so often, but you could be like, no, we're not supporting that anymore. And cut that service. I think a few thousand websites would need instant support or a relaunch. But that wouldn't be in the interest of a web hoster because ongoing contracts are pretty useful. Then we could go the way Ionos went, like increase pricing for older versions. So it has a consequence if you're not caring for your system. So I'm not sure, are you aware of the prices Ionos has? Okay. Good. We are. Can you tell us? Sorry? Can you tell us? Just a rough amount.
Between 7 and I think it's 20. Yeah, I think the most recent update, I think they priced on updated PHP versions. I think it starts at €7.50 to 3 cents. I actually asked them if it was some converted to US currency price. That's why I went that one.
I just asked them, I were like, how does it work? And they were like, we're not talking about that. It's so insanely good. So it's a business model for them.
It's like the ELTSs.
It is.
I think it's actually $20.
Yeah. So, and if you scale it by 100,000, yeah, pretty decent. I take it.
Mm-hmm.
But that is preventing Type 3 agencies from scaling their business, probably. But honestly, we do not know. Those old Type 3 websites that we heard in Louisa's talk, version 7 or previous versions, I'm not even sure if they would upgrade if they needed to. So that's the concern we have as Type 3. They may be lost because you cannot go to a small medium business doorstep, ring and be like, hey, that's 10,000 euros for your upgrade. Sign here. It just won't happen.
But you have every content management system is a problem.
Yeah, so we have to create offerings for them. So one offering could be like, we can support all PHP versions. That's effort, that's doable. For one part of the community, that's a business model. And if that is better than an agency upgrading your website because you do not want to go anywhere, you do not want to change the order of your website card, so that is a valid solution.
Same websites.
Yeah.
Is it the problem that when an agency delivers the website, the relationship between the client and the agency might be just gone because they delivered the product? In case of if you're providing a server, you're providing a service to that customer. So you can actually do something with the expenses they have and you make to provide their service. But as an agency, you cannot force them in a certain way to actually spend more money on you because there's no need for them. It just works as long as the server is still supporting it.
I think it should be your business model to sell maintenance. Every time, if the customer does not want maintenance, don't sell on the page itself. I've got colleagues who run agency side businesses, and most of them would say if a customer wants a website, he will only deliver it with a maintenance contract. And I would love to see every agency do this, because on a daily basis I analyze their websites, and guess what? They are never maintained, and that's the problem. So I think you should only sell a website if you sell a maintenance contract. For at least, let's say, 1 year or 2 years. And then put in the stuff, don't only patch security stuff, but show the customer that you can do more with maintenance to have better return on investment, to have more features, to help them create content or whatever it is. And the maintenance of the system below is just part of it. You cannot sell security anyway to most customers. You just can. But it's
you sell it with the visible effect that you also do during maintenance phase.
Yeah.
But I think it's good if you offboarding your customer, you say, hey, lovely customer, we doesn't maintain your project, please search or contact a freelancer. Here you have a list.
Good luck.
Yes. That's a better way as to say, hey, customer, ciao.
But I mean, as you said as well earlier, this isn't only a problem for Typo 3. This is a problem for all CMSs. And I mean, yeah, look at Drupal 7, for example, end of life finally next year. But there is something about the stick and the carrot as well in the business. Of course, you need to have something that happens or the client will just sleep. But do you want a sleeping client? What is a sleeping client? Is that a client that generates money? I don't know. But sometimes I want to, just say that we'll stop selling websites. That's not actually what you're selling. Yes. It's what you're making, but it's car makers can sell experiences, just like travel agents can. And often people buy a car also because of the experience of owning that car, right? That's why people often buy more expensive cars than what they actually need. And I wonder if are we putting too much emphasis on the tool and not enough emphasis on the actual value generation? Do we leave that too much up to the client to generate value with the content management system?
I have a question. If you talk about the value, who's measuring that and who's paying the measuring of the value?
Very good question, right? Yeah.
I think we as the agencies should measure it. We should know about it. We should not just be there and wait for a client and say, hey, I need a website. And okay, you need Typo 3. We should ask why you want a website and what you want to do, where do you want to go, and what goals do you want to achieve with this page. And then have a build it maybe, but then continuously work with the client and consult him, be a consultant for the clients, like what normally an agency should be, in my opinion, and help him reaching his business goals or show him how with new techniques it's possible to do so.
But then you're already thinking about to continuously work with the client and he's paying every month. So before that you have to confess him that this is the right thing to do. So then we're already not only at selling the product but selling the experience or selling the business opportunities.
Yeah. You're speaking my language. I think that's really, from my perspective, an important change in the perspective of running a website business. And I think that is also something that we have to look at in Typo 3 as well. How do we make Typo 3 into a platform that can better show agency clients what they're actually getting out of their site? Because yes, do you have something about that?
Controversial question. What if just a thesis? I think that the ecosystem will change by a lot. We can now experience small agencies just running out of business. They just give up. They slowly dissolve into larger selling Ferraris anymore. Maybe you should go to something different. And the question for tab 3 would be, if it's a tab 3 question, can tab 3 become something else? Is it always that large, individually integrated thingy we do, or are we, that's my personal opinion, we will slowly start to industrialize parts of what we do, because why should you write an extension twice if there's one good out there? So no one of us thought about rewriting TD News because that's what the world needed. It's not needed. So if there are good options out there, we should get more efficient. So we have to question ourselves a lot of things before we start talking about the clients, because we are the ones that should change probably. So, and that's also in regards to HR. If you cannot find developers anymore, or those are rare or not good enough anymore, or integrators just won't do the job because you have onboarding times about years, you have to rethink your own business and adapt to what is out there. And if we talk about old versions, most of them were built in a time where the business was totally different, where you couldn't get access to many, like there was no HubSpot back in the days. So you have a lot of competitors out there, and we have to think about what is our business. Again, this is the room, what is the job that is mine to do? Are we doing the right thing at that given time?
If I mean, it would be great if somehow you be analyzed, because when you say those websites are built in a time, it's completely a different thing. Yeah, for sure, I think a lot of websites, it's not the target anymore for Type 3 to rebuild those websites, because I think Type 3 is at a higher level, so I think we should focus less on numbers, but more on the total value of the websites we create.
Tell that to the agency that's running out of business. No?
No, yeah. In the past, we've built also a lot of websites. For example, it could be in the family sphere or in the small associations atmosphere. Yeah, Type 3 is not the right job. The tools right then are different than the tools are right now. So I would not never build that website in Type 3 at this moment, because Type 3 is not the right tool for that at the moment. But they are in those numbers, and we should not focus on these kind of projects, because I think we're talking about quite a different level of projects, where what is a different story.
No, I think it's also not a Type 3 question, again. I mean, this is about other CMSs have the same issue as well. This is a change of business model for many agencies today. We've been used to selling products, and we're more moving into selling services. And then the question rather becomes, if you have a client that is, let's say, a membership organization, much like the Type 3 Association, how can you provide a holistic solution with a CMS, but with other things as well, other services that you provide that can give that organization value? Because we cannot change the clients, right? But we can change the view on the website from being an expense post to being an investment and a potential source of increased income.
What do we do if we sell our customers this thing, telling them that it's an opportunity and good for the business and sales will go up or whatever, then we measure it and it's not?
Yeah, then you're not measuring often enough, right? Because you should have had a number at the beginning. And what?
0 visits.
Yeah, you can improve that. You can come back the month after and say, well, you have 1 visitor, so that's an infinite increase. But it's yes, it is about the methodology that you apply to it. And I think, there are probably clients out there who, just want a static website. Maybe Typo 3 isn't the right choice for them if they just want static. Typo 3 has more things to offer, and yes, there are people who, drive to the shops with their Ferrari. That happens. But that is still not about going to the shops, right? That's not why they choose the Ferrari. There are a lot of things that we used to do, that were focused on giving the client what they want. Maybe we should turn that into not giving the client what they want, but giving them what will make them continue to want it.
Oh, so drug dealers.
Well, creating a dependency, interdependency.
Sounds better than addiction, right?
Yeah, a partnership. Yeah, but we're approaching the end here. But really, that is the core of what I wanted to get to here. That this isn't a business-to-business sales process anymore. It's a collaboration process. It's a process where the client interacts with the agency much more often than they have, and not with the support department. The support department is there to solve problems, right? But should they always talk to the support department? I've had discussions with people about, the role of the support department in sales, because the support department ends up being the people who actually talk to the client. Should they be the ones that actually talk to the client? Yeah. That's the question. Okay. I think that's a good ending for this session. Thank you very much for all of your input, and I think this is also a discussion that we should continue, and I think it's important for Typo 3 as well, and really lovely to see you all here today.